Welcome to a new episode of the Cartridge Club, where we discuss our game of the month with members of the Cartridge Club community. Tis is the tradition here with the Cartridge Club. For the month of April, we play a Zelda game. In this season, the Cartridge Club played The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Joining me on the show, we have StumptownRetro, JChipShow, Owaz, Mrs. Qdawg, and Captain Algebra. If you've played along, you can always share your own experiences in our community's Discord or across social media by using the hashtag Cartridge Club. Before I start the show, on behalf of the entire Cartridge Club community, I'd like to give a huge shout out to our Patreon Club backers like Joel Boyce, Barrett on Mars, Christopher Rohr, Dean Lasagna, Ross Rango, and Caleb J. Ross. To our backers and Patreon supporters, thank you. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter for the Cartridge Club, please look how you can do so at patreon.com/Cartridge Club.
Yeah, so I actually played through both versions of the game. I played through it on the Wii and on the Switch. And I wasn't sure what to think of the Switch one because I had bought it and I had never played it. It was one of those kind of Nintendo games where you're like, oh, I have to get the release before it's gone out of stores. Gotta grab it, you know. Honestly, I have a lot of strong, really fond memories of Skyward Sword, especially when it came out. The design wise of them using that more painterly sort of aesthetic to it just to kind of blur the effects because of how they couldn't do render distance on the Wii very well. It kind of gave it like a pointillism thing, so everything kind of looked like a Monet, which I really liked. I thought that was a really cool art decision for it. The gameplay I never really had an issue with until I played the Switch version, because then I saw all the issues with the Wii version. So for me, the Wii version, it's very limited on your controls, not being able to look around with a right stick, which is something you can do on the Switch version. It changes the entire way you're actually going through dungeons, because before you didn't have that option to be able to turn around unless you're just holding your Wiimote over to the side and waiting for Link to slowly turn and slowly move. Now you have full 360-degree view in every single dungeon, which I consider the entire surface world a dungeon because of the way that it kind of linearly plays out. Everything kind of unlocks a new area down below. It changed the entire way you play the game, and I felt for the better. Also, how many of you guys played the Wii version and not the Switch version?
Originally, I have played the Switch version.
Yeah, I've played both versions.
Okay.
I've only played the Wii version.
Just the Switch version.
So if you only played the Wii version, you probably really hated that every single time you picked up an item, it showed the description if you left the game and came back to it, right?
I don't recall that part because it's been about 10 years.
It's only if you shut the game off.
Yeah, so if you shut the game off because
you
you didn't complete it, and you came back to it, you pick up a rupee for the first time. Oh, it's a rupee. Oh, it's this. They fixed that in the Switch version completely, so that never happens. And with that, plus your ability to be able to move your actual camera, it makes this game a breeze. I was able to complete the Switch version probably about 3 times faster than I was able to do the Wii version. I tried it only with the physical controls, just because I wanted to see what that was like compared to the Wii version. But I did try out really quickly the motion controls, and one thing I will say I love about the Switch version as well, you don't have to calibrate all the time. I wasn't setting my Wii remote on the counter just to try to figure out, okay, is it calibrated? Is it calibrated? Cool, we can do it, keep going and swinging the sword again. The gyroscopic controls on the Switch are amazing, especially when it comes to aiming. So when you're aiming your hook shot, when you're aiming your bow, you can use your physical controls and your gyro at the same time to really nail in your precision. It makes it just a breeze to play the game. Story-wise, this is still probably my favorite Zelda games in terms of story. They did fix Fi in Switch version a little bit. She's toned down about 40%. I don't feel like she's holding my hand nearly as much. I feel it's about the same as pretty much any other Zelda game during this timeline. When you're dealing with Majora's Mask or Wind Waker, everything else was always yelling at you as well. So Fi On the Switch is toned down enough to be in line with that.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick because that just reminded me with Fee here. We're playing the original versus the Switch version when it comes to Fee and how annoying she is in the game.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that they improved with the Switch version is when your battery is low, she is not warning you. In the Wii version, it's like I had rechargeable batteries in that thing, and every few hours I got the alert from her. So it's like more Fee. That, and like I said, the fact that I just get the little bleep alert on the screen, then it's not Fee telling me. Thumbs up on the Switch version. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. It was like all the quality of life things that I know people complained about when the Wii version came out were pretty much solved 100% on the Switch version. Like for me, like the gyroscopic controls are really, really good. Like everything seems to respond really well. The physical controls are also really easy to master. It takes a little while for it to register if you're trying to move or if you have an intentional control. So there is that caveat, but like that was going to happen anyways. Fee obviously being much, much more toned down. Luckily, when I was playing the Wii version, I had lithium batteries, so I didn't have to worry about her yelling at me about battery life at all. But overall, I feel like design-wise, the game did improve on the Switch. The HD version does have way better render distance as well, so the art style does pop quite a bit more. But the biggest thing I'll say that the Switch version has an advantage over is that 60 frames a second. I did not think about how that would impact my gameplay with this game so much. Everything just felt so smooth to be able to play. Like moving your sword around just felt like less choppy just because it was going to be able to keep up with the frame rate of your movement much faster. Moving around the screen, I was getting less like headaches, just kind of like moving around in like a 360-degree environment with a slower frame rate. Definitely helped out with some of the temples, especially like the Cistern, which probably one of the better temples that have been designed in any Zelda game. Overall, like that, amazing. Then story-wise, I've always loved Skyward Sword. I felt like it was the first time that we really actually got an idea of like Link's personality beside him just being a goofball. He's kind of just been like kind of present for the story, and the story kind of goes around him. Here, there's a little bit of that because you're like the destined hero still, somehow, even though this is an origin story. But you're still like the destined hero, of course. But you get a lot more depth as to like what makes the hero in every other further Zelda game, like all the traits that Link starts to have in the future games or previous games in the timeline all started from here. You get that relationship with Zelda, which I thought was great. Plus, Groose is probably one of my favorite characters ever in a Zelda game. His growth as a character is fantastic, and he's fun to have around. I just think he's kind of silly, and I like it. But overall, I love this game. It's still, after playing it again, it's probably ranked a little bit lower on my list than I originally had it. Just because of some of the issues.
Is that because you also played it both versions for this playthrough?
No,
that's a little fatigue maybe came into effect for that.
No, it was more so the bigger things that I had an issue with this game were the big overall like big bosses like Girahim and Demise were just kind of boring by comparison. So that kind of dropped the game down a little bit for me because like my overall like, oh, what am I really risking here? What are we fighting? What are we doing? It didn't feel as complex as any of the other Zelda games, especially after the last review we did was, Tears of the Kingdom. And that felt like it had dramatic amounts of impact, like on story, like what's going on, what's happening. You had risks at every angle for your character to grow from. This doesn't really have that. It's just like, I just kind of want to find my girlfriend. Oh, she's over here in another castle, and that's kind of what happens the whole time.
Okay, so this is the big one because I've never played this game before until recently. Just to give a backstory of my Zelda knowledge, I'm a huge fan of Ocarina of Time. That is my favorite one. I recently played Wind Waker, and it was pretty good. And so I played that in lead up to this one. And I'm going to start out with my negatives because you always want to end with a positive. I think Groose is one of the most infuriating characters in any Zelda game ever made. He is the most annoying scumbag. And it's like, he doesn't add anything to the story. And he's just a big oaf. He's a jerk in the beginning. Why should I have him help me? Fee is also very annoying. I hate her autotune. I think it's so bad. Granted, you can say the same about every other Zelda sidekick. It's not limited to just her, but she doesn't help at all.
Not to interrupt, you're 100% right with that. I mean, Navi's been like a meme and like like not done, yeah, like for decades, right?
Right.
But yeah, just I'm backing you up on that one for sure.
I also hate that you go to 3 areas 3 times, and by the 3rd time, it feels like they're really stretching it, and it's like, I don't know. I felt like there's a lot of things you could have cut in this game that would have made it a bit better. Also, for an origin story, this to me just did not feel like an origin story. It felt like another Zelda game that just happens to be placed in the first game, in the first part of the story. My positives with this game, though, is I think this game has some of the most creative dungeons ever. I think every single dungeon in this game is great. The combat in this game is really not that bad. I played this on the Wii, and the motion controls, they do take a little getting used to, but it's not that bad. Once you get used to it, this game is actually kind of a breeze. I guess another positive I would have is visually, I think this is a really good-looking game. I only played the Wii version. I didn't play the HD version. But even on the Wii, I think it still looks pretty good. I like all the watercolor effects in the background. It's just a nice-looking game overall.
Okay, so I've only played, this is my 3rd Zelda game that I've played. I started with Wind Waker. I did Twilight Princess for the club last year. Now I did this one. I'm not quite finished. I used motion controls. I don't usually like motion controls. I'm not a fan of motion controls. Like on the Wii, like I remember like for the Wii U for Wind Waker, when I did it on the Wii U, I did not use motion controls. But I didn't like when you use button controls, like you couldn't turn around. Like I felt like it was like hard to like turn around when I needed to as quickly as I wanted to. So I moved to motion controls, and I did enjoy the motion controls, like especially with the sword swinging and everything. The one thing that got me though is when you had to do like a fall and like land somewhere. There were a couple things like to get a chest and to get a side quest. Like I could not do it. Like the I don't know if it was just my controller or what. I had to move to button controls to finish that off. And so there was a couple other things, but fighting, I love the motion controls. I agree with JChip, like going back and forth to the same places over and over again. I was kind of like, come on, guys, like either like open it up or like do it all at once. Like it was kind of getting old. So, but I will say, like, I really like Wind Waker, like, and maybe that was just because it's like nostalgia because it's my first one. So, and I kind of feel like this is almost the same as Wind Waker. You're flying instead of going on a boat. You like there's like the music. A lot of the music is the same. Like there's just a lot that's very similar. So, I think I haven't quite finished it. So if the ending like gets too annoying, I might have to change, but I think this is above Twilight Princess for me. So it's a good game. There are some real annoyances. There are some parts that I really didn't like, but overall, I would say that I enjoyed it, and it's not that hard. JChip's right; it's not that hard.
Like, I think the game gets in the way of itself by slowing you down so many times with Fee, and even there was times like I would skip the cutscenes and I'd keep playing, and then I'd go back and pull up a YouTube video and like, all right, let me watch that at 2 or 3 speed so I can get through it, because it just seemed like it was drawn out, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is so slow. And then Mrs. Qdawg brought up the flying. I did not like the flying. I thought it was boring. And she compared it to Wind Waker. The first time I started flying, I was like, this is just Wind Waker, but you're in the air. And I didn't care for it. That was another thing. It was too slow. I mean, maybe if they brought the islands closer together or something. Cap popped into the stream one time. And it's like, you're doing it wrong. You got to climb up and then go down so you gain the speed. And I was like, that's just too much work. I just want to go. And that's the thing with me, where I am in gaming, is I want to get to where I need to go. I don't want to have all these little stops that I have to hit because, like I said, it just slows it down, and it takes longer to do what you need to do for what feels like no reason. If you like the flying part, then it wouldn't, it would be fine for you. But like I said, for me, I was just like, this is just really annoying. It's like, oh, you mean I gotta go to the sky again? Oh, you mean I gotta fall down again? Oh, you mean I gotta go to the sky again? Oh, you mean I gotta go fall down again? I gotta go to the sky. I gotta fall. Why can't I choose where I'm gonna fall now? Oh, okay. Story reasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when you're in the main area, that Skyloft area, like, you still have to like run and jump to get on your board. It's like, and if you just fell off or you didn't run quite right, you'd fall. And I'm like, really? Like, we're in the main area. If I fall off, give me my bird.
Yeah, and having to call it, like, probably the first hour or two, I just ran off to see what would happen, and it was like, oh, okay, and it was at night, and it's like, oh, okay, because it's dark. I think I'd already gotten my bird at that point, but I was like, okay, at nighttime, fine, they save you, whatever. And then I did it during the day, and I was like, wait, no, I'm trying to get right there. I don't want you to save me. Or, okay, I ran off. Why do I have to run off a specific point to actually be able to call my bird? And so it's like, all right, well, let me just find a platform or whatever, and I'll make sure I run off those spots in the future. But yeah, it's definitely, like, I'd give the game like a 6, maybe a 7 out of 10, but just like it really got in the way of itself with how slow, and it just felt like it was trudging along. But I didn't like Twilight Princess a ton either. And I think Cap actually made the mark. He's like, maybe the 3D games aren't for you. It's like, yeah, there's could possibly be some truth to that. I haven't played much of either of the N64 versions. I played, I forget which one, maybe it was Majora's Mask. Played that for a couple hours, 3 or 4 hours or something. Made some progress in it years ago and enjoyed it. But like, I don't know if I could go back to it and enjoy it today. And the same thing is with Wind Waker. I played Wind Waker, probably 20-ish years ago or close to it. And I can look back, like, I had a lot of fun playing it, but I had a lot more time to play those at that point. And so I think there's definitely a chance if I went back and played it now, I wouldn't enjoy it as much as I did. And I played it on the GameCube with all the long boat sailing parts and everything. I enjoyed it. I went through, and I think I don't know if I 100%ed it, but I got a lot of stuff. And in this one, I didn't do any upgrades, and I didn't find out or realize until the end, oh, I can upgrade all this stuff. And I was like, why? I was like, let me focus on getting the biggest rupee bag I can so I could hold that. And that was like, I think I bought a seat upgrade because, like, oh, look, I can buy this. And then one of the first times I tried to go and upgrade something, I had everything I needed to upgrade, and it wouldn't let me upgrade my wooden shield. And my shield broke at the second, third dungeon, something like that. I never replaced it. It wasn't needed. And it's just like, why do you have all this stuff in the game that you don't need to do? Like it didn't really. There was a couple times I was running short on arrows or bombs or whatever, but it didn't really. Like, I didn't really see the benefit for having all of these huge upgrades. Just give them to us from the start. At least you only had to get 4 heart pieces, though.
I absolutely love Skyward Sword. So this is probably my most played Zelda. I was trying to think about it. It's either this or Twilight Princess. I don't know which one I've played more. I think maybe this one, which would be like 5 or 6 times. I've played the Wii version this time. In the past, I have played the Switch version, which is why I played the Wii one. This one, I think last year I played the Switch. For that one, I chose the button controls just to see what they were like. Plus, I was traveling for spring break most of the time, so I didn't have my dock or anything, so I wanted to just play with the button controls. I think we all have games in our lives that mean more to us because of what we were doing during that time than necessarily the game itself. And so Skyward Sword came out when I was my first year teaching, and I had moved to an area where I didn't know anybody. Fortunately, I met a couple other first-year teachers who became really good friends of mine, but I had a lot of downtime at my apartment. And so when Skyward got announced, and it came out for Black Friday, I remember they released the like deluxe version with the gold Wiimote and the soundtrack, and I really wanted to get it. Unfortunately, I didn't get a copy of that. I just had to get a regular version. But, I came home from visiting my parents that weekend, and I just dove in, and it consumed much of my free time outside of school. And much like Stump brought up, the story is amazing in my opinion. I love the origin story. I love how it tells how the Master Sword came to be. I thought that was really interesting. The motion controls were always good to me. I always had fun with them. Yeah, they're not perfect, but they're better than some motion controls in some games. And I really liked the idea of using the motion controls to fight enemies in certain ways. I thought it made some of the boss fights a lot of fun. I thought it added a lot of good puzzle elements to the game. But saying that, the game's not perfect, for sure. I don't love going to the same area multiple times. Like, I agree with that. But at the same time, I think they're different enough that it didn't bother me too much. Like when you go to Lanayru, right, you've got the main area, but then you've got the mines, and then you've got the Sand Sea. Those are all very different, in my opinion. So I didn't mind going back to that area. I know you guys brought up the flying. I don't mind the flying. Again, it could be better, but there's no way in hell it compares to the boring-ass sailing in Wind Waker when you have to change the direction of the wind anytime you want to go a different way. And I know they fixed that in the Wii U version with the Swift Sail, but still in the original version, that was so boring and so terrible to have to switch the direction. So Owaz don't even say it's like flying. Not even close. But I think it's been touched on. The dungeons have very good designs. I think many of the boss fights are really good. I don't like repeat bosses. I don't mind Girahim, but I don't want to fight him 3 times. I don't mind the imprisoned, but again, I don't want to fight it 3 times. I felt like they could have done a better job there. But overall, I really love the game. It is top 3 for me, right behind Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time.
All right. My overall thoughts on Skyward Sword. I don't like the game. And you're going to say, Ryan, well, did you play it? Yeah, I put 60 hours on in the second playthrough. I played it.
Maybe you're just bad at Zelda games. How did it take you 60 hours? Man.
100%ed it. And yeah, a lot of back and forth. Maybe I fell asleep a few times, probably. That could have probably added on to the hours to this game. But I'm trying not to repeat what frustrations, because I think it's the same thing what everyone already said, the repetition of the game. I don't like the dungeons and I don't like the bosses in this game at all, with the exception of maybe the one, because I played this twice, right? So I played this one originally, I believe in 2014, not when it came out. Just, I think I saw it on a shelf and I was reluctant even to play it then, I think, because I hate motion controls. But I love Zelda games, so I gave it, the old college try, and I beat it then. That was the first Zelda game I didn't 100% beat. So, and the main reason why is, and I did everything, I could not, for the life of me, with the motion controls, do that one heart piece challenge where you're falling from the sky on, was it Fun Island? Where you have to, I can't remember, you have to go through the hoops or something like that. And you have to be perfect. You have to hit it like 8 times through to get the perfect score. And that's how you get the piece of heart. On the remaster, the removal where you could just use the analog stick to drive, I got it like in the 3rd try. So like I said, there are dramatic improvements for me playing the Switch remaster, if you can even call it a remaster. And I can see some things, what they did. Like, you have to, because it's kind of hard. Game's programmed one certain way. It wasn't like Twilight Princess, where it was being made for like 6 years for the GameCube, and then they figured they can just delay it for 1 extra year so they can launch it with the Wii, and you don't have to get too creative with the motion controls. That way you have a perfectly mapped button version and probably a mediocre motion control version for Twilight Princess. This version, I think, is... They had, like, the idea, I guess, that they thought of for it was use the second analog stick to swing your sword. In some cases, it works fine, but not every time. It's still not perfect, like swinging the sword. It kind of reminds me a little bit of when MLB The Show, it's a baseball game for everybody who's not familiar. They decided to change how you swing a bat with the buttons to the right analog stick. So if you, I guess, want to pull the ball, you would, if you're a left-handed hitter, you hold it right, or you swing your stick right. You can't just hold it, you have to swing it right. Or if you want to swing it, hit it left, you have to slap the right analog stick in that direction. And I hated it because I've been playing the game for so long where I would rather if you give me an up strike, why don't you give me like a button pattern? Like I feel like even the upper buttons could have been used for something as an option for a thing. And the fact that it doesn't have it feels like it's another lazy port. Some things in the game look great. I will say that I think JChip mentioned the watercolor, art design for this game. For the original Wii one, I feel like the watercolor design is like toned down a little bit for the Switch remaster. Like it stood out to me for the Switch or for the Wii version. It just looks prettier. And I shouldn't say that for every case there, because there are some there's definitely things where they prioritize like making sure Link looks great and Zelda looks great and everything like that. But I feel like some areas, like when you fall into an area, you kind of get the like the ridges kind of like stand out a little bit more. So I feel like Nintendo's done better HD ports in the past. Like Wind Waker stands out. I think Twilight Princess stands out better. And this one feels more like hey, we need something for the holidays kind of release. But back to the slicing of the design here. I wish for the attacks they could have had more of a button pattern. Did it hinder me from like playing the game? A couple times. There are motion controls is such an emphasis in this game because of how it was designed for the Wii. Like everything has to have motion controls. How you fight the boss, how you open doors, how you get into the boss temples. I will say thank you for the analog stick moving. I remember for the original Wii release, the frustration I had trying to move a boss key into the correct pattern, where I'm like, I just want to put the key in. I don't want another damn puzzle to get in here. Just let me. No other Zelda game prior to this had to have you do another motion control puzzle to get it exactly into the correct slot. I hated it. I will say the Switch version has bumped this up from the worst Zelda game to the second worst game, in my opinion, in the franchise. But yeah, like the repetition, like I hate the boss designs in this game, with the exception of the one that's in the ancient temple. I think that one's one of the more creative Zelda bosses throughout the whole franchise, and it makes sense with like using the whip for how you attack it. But for the most part, I felt like a lot of them are generic. Like the scorpion, it's literally just you attack the claws and you poke it in the eye, but it's literally just designed for motion controls where you have to wait for it to open and then it turns its hand a certain way and then you can slice it in that direction. That's not fun to me. To me, that's very, very not uncreative, I guess is the way I would say it. But I hate so much of this game. And like I said, I know I'll be repeating some of the stuff, but like, yeah, like you can't just jump anywhere off a Skyloft. It's a Skyloft that seems like this community, this world is dead. There's nothing in this world, right? You have this village in the sky, but there's like maybe like 10, 15 people of this village in the sky. Nobody lives down below except for one Goron. That's it. Like this world is dead. There's nothing in this world. With the exception of maybe some bokoblins and some keys. And that's it. It's such like a bland world. I hate it. It doesn't feel lived in. And
Ryan, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
And sorry, Cap, we're going to bring up Wind Waker again.
Sure.
But how would you compare these bosses to the bosses of Wind Waker? Because to me, they're one and the same, with your criticism.
I don't recall having like with the boss fights for this game feels like, okay, there's a gimmick to it and it has to be a motion control gimmick. And I felt like at least with those other ones. Now I will criticize like a lot of like Wind Waker, and you can even say probably like Twilight Princess. They're all just repeating the same pattern that like was set up previously with the Ocarina of Time, right? Like there's a Phantom Ganon fight where you do like the back and forth tennis match and whatnot, where the creativity is not like that. So I much prefer, I guess, having some kind of fight like that, but having just boss designs where just specifically designed where it's like you can only attack it by waiting for it to move its hand in a certain way so you can slice it a certain way. And to me, that is not fun. I rather have just some sort of other way of attacking it, like a much more creative way of attacking it. And it feels like, with the exception of maybe one boss in this whole game, everything is pretty much like that. Like you fight those skeletos, right, or what scatullas or something like that, where they all have like one's he's doing like an L pattern one way and then an L pattern the other way, where it's clearly you're supposed to attack it left or right or up or poke. You can see it, and to me, like there's a lot of that in this game, and I don't like it. Even you can reskin it a certain way, regardless. I'm just attacking it the same exact way, and to me, like that hurts this game.
Well, and like you do enough of that as you're just playing the game by itself. Because how many times you walk up to the piranha plant or whatever they are. It's like, okay, it's opening its mouth this way, slash it this way. Okay, it's opening it this way, slash it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to a boss and it's like, well, now I'm doing the same thing that I'd been doing for the last few hours or whatever, and it just like I'm having trouble even remembering a lot of the bosses and stuff. Like I'll need to go look at some stuff, but none of them were like memorable bosses. They were all kind of just like, okay, it's a tougher opponent. Do. Okay.
I will say it feels like I mentioned before. I know Cap, you feel this way about Wind Waker. I hate the art direction of this game. I do, with the exception of the color pattern. I hate it. Like with the exception of I mentioned the boss that's in the ancient temple. What's that one squid boss, right? Where she feels like completely out of place almost. Like it feels like you had more of like a serious design with that one to more of a cartoony like gelatin squid monster. It's in the dragons. I hate how the dragons look in this game. I don't know. And back to this world. I'm going to bring back this world again. Here's another negative. And we mentioned we keep going back to the same areas, but yeah, it's like, okay, we're back to where the tree is. Oh, to get to the temple, you gotta go underneath the tree. You gotta swim underneath it. Where, man, it's like, I don't know. I really don't like this game.
I want to touch on the art direction. I agree, Ryan. I don't love the art either. I think it's a step above Wind Waker, but I still don't like it that much. I prefer the darker, grittier art design of something like Twilight Princess. I don't know. I just prefer my games like that.
Let me ask you, Cap, real quick,
Mm-hmm.
because it feels like originally when I played this game back like 10 years ago, it feels like they just originally just dumped the water design more of a cell shade on top of the Twilight Princess art design. Do you feel the same exact way, or am I wrong for thinking that originally for the Wii version?
I could see that for sure, because I think like Link kind of looks like the Twilight Princess Link, but like you said, it's kind of like got that watercolor aesthetic to it. So I would agree with that, which is why I think I do like it slightly more than Wind Waker, because it is close to what at least the design of Twilight Princess. But again, I don't like the cartoony stuff. You mentioned Tantalus. I think that's the goofiest looking character in almost any Zelda game, other than a lot of Wind Waker stuff. But it does look out of place. Most of the other bosses are pretty cool. I think Girahim looks really cool. Coloctus, that's the one in the Ancient Cistern. That is one of the coolest boss fights, how you whip off the arms and use the swords against it. I think Demise looks awesome. I know you didn't like the Scorpion, but I thought that was super cool how just this giant scorpion pops out. I think it's still a good design. I think the Imprisoned looks stupid. And I think, like I said, I think Tantalus looks stupid. Other than that, though, I think I like the designs of the bosses and I like how they look. But yeah, those Imprisoned and Tantalus just don't seem to fit.
We talked about memorable boss fights. To me, like playing this recently, the only boss that I would remember moving forward is probably the Girahim fights. Just because to me that's the closest this game gets to where it feels like you're in a sword fight. And the third fight is pretty much just punch out. Like you're dodging his hits and you're trying to get him out of the ring. And that was pretty fun. So for me personally, I think the Girahim fights were just the best.
They were pretty
annoying. I can see that.
Too, though. At least because it's so annoying. He's like, holding up his two fingers. Oh, I grabbed your sword. Neener. Now you're sitting there just, let go. And then you try to go and attack him again. And then for the third fight, I think I did him just like I did with the pirate skeletons you had to knock off. Just so they ran up to him and just Poke, 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 poke. Oh, he blocked that one. Poke, 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 poke. Okay, got him off. Jump down to the next one. Poke, 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 poke. And just kept doing that. And like there was like no challenge. I was like, really? Is that it? And then Demise comes up, and then it's like, oh, okay. And then Demise wasn't that difficult either. It took me 3 or 4 times, I think. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do because I don't have a shield and I can't block. But the last time I did it, I was sitting there like waiting. I was like, all right, do your thing so I can get my, the charge so I can hit you. And then, all right, now let me do that again and rinse and repeat. And the repetition of a lot of it, a lot of the bosses and stuff is just like, no, this just isn't like they were too long. They were a little bit too much of meat sponges, especially with Girahim and Demise.
Melissa, if you want to cheese Demise, just buy yourself like there's one potion in it's the most expensive potion in Skyloft.
The one that keeps you from getting hit.
Yep, and then if you upgrade it, you can upgrade it, and then you can put the potion medal on, and you'll be invincible for 6 minutes, so you can just slice away at them.
That's what I did. That's actually, like, I have that in my pouch right now. I have the medal. I put the medal on, and then I actually have 2 bottles of that potion upgraded. For the
so you can actually be invincible.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 6 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't spend much time in any of those shops after going through them the first time because it like did not seem like I could do anything there. Like there was nothing worthwhile. Like why do I need to buy the potions? Why because I had 2 bottles I think, and I was like, well, just be cap them with fairies and.
Well, that's the thing is you really don't need so much to, despite this game giving you 5 bottles. Like I think I only really used potions because I remember the gauntlet going into that final boss fight that you have to beat Girahim and then Demise. And I just remember I think Zelda Dungeon might even like let me know about it. Like still in this whole playthrough, like I said, I don't think I used any of that until the last fight. Just because I just remember it could be kind of tough if you don't have it. But yeah.
Did you have the shield? You know how like you can do that like mini boss game with the mine dragon? Do you guys know about that? That's like a
where you
like after you heal him.
Carry.
Yeah, after you like heal him, you can go and do this mini, and then he'll give you like a shield after you've beaten like 8. Did you guys all get that?
That's the only way you get the Hyrule shield too.
Yeah,
the legendary Hyrule shield.
And what if I don't have it? I don't feel like
you'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I didn't have a shield at all.
It's just like unbreakable. That's the thing about that one. So
I didn't use my shield a lot either. Owaz, like mine is upgraded, but I honestly don't use it a lot.
I think the only time I can really recall using the shield too is for like those flying. I don't know if they're guardians or sentinels or something like that, where they shoot a torpedo at you, and you have to kind of just like. I think you can swipe at it to knock it back, but it's just easy. Just at least in the Switch version, you just press in on the analog stick, and it parries it right back at them. So,
yeah, no, I use the parry a lot. It pretty much destroys the entire game. I don't even really need to use the sword. I can just use the shield the whole time. Just stops everything. It's great.
I still remember though. I think I was texting JChip about this too, because like. I was confident last Sunday I was going to beat this game a week ago. And then I saved the dragon and he let me know that there's a boss rush. If you want, the last piece of heart, you got to get 4 waves. And if you want the shield, you have to do 8 waves. And I'm like, man, do I really want to do this again? And I think I even told JChip, I'm not doing this crap. And then here I am Thursday night doing that crap because in my head I'm like, well, I'm so close, I might as well just do it. So here I am doing it.
I thought I was going to beat it last night too because I was going through the final Triforce part. I was like, oh, I'm sure like it's the final Triforce part, and then it's like the last thing, right? No, because now I did the Triforce part. Then I had to do the Silent Realm once again.
Oh my god, I hate this. Just reminding you how much I hate these stupid Silent Realms.
Yes.
I know they're in Twilight Princess too, right? You have to.
Yeah.
It was bad then too. I hated it.
And then I was like,
Never
and
mind.
now there's like another area now I still have to go to. Now I gotta go to Sky Keep, and now that's like the final dungeon. And there's all this stuff in there. It's like, oh, it's like I'm gonna stay up last night, and I stayed up till midnight, and then I was like, I'm not even close.
So talking about the Silent Realms, like that's what an example of, or in those are examples of ways that slow down. Because like if you get too close, one of the one that has the lanterns or whatever, like it stopped, it pulled you out of the game, pulled you off to the side so you could see the cutscene, so it could freak out and let you know that everything's coming. After you've done that once, and at most once in every area of the 3 times you have to do it, that's all you need to see. Change the tone of the music, change color, whatever. But don't be like, all right, now you're gonna have to watch this 10-second cutscene. It's like, no, just let me play. I know I've got to run. I know where I want to go. Because all right, well, I got to go to the next, whatever the
tier.
Gar,
That's a little tier in the ground. Yeah.
Collecting. But it's just like, nope, we're gonna do this, and it's like I don't even think I was close enough to get hit. For the hitboxes to hit. But now I've got to run off and do this, but I've got to wait so you can yell at me. I don't need you yelling at me. Just let me go take care of what I got to take care of. I know what I got to do.
If you're better at the game, you don't get caught.
You don't get yelled at.
Then you don't have to watch the cutscene over
No,
and over
you
again.
do, but you do get yelled at the beginning of each one of those. You come out of the circle,
as soon as
and
you come out,
it gives you that thing, and it's like, I know. Let me just go. I know where I'm going.
Okay, I'm sorry. You'll get caught one time. You'll see that one time. And then you don't have to worry about it if you don't get caught.
4 times you'll see it.
Oh,
there is the pools.
So rough.
I didn't understand what the pools were the first time, so I was running right to it, and there was a pool. It's like,
they explained that Owaz if you would have listened. They explained the pools if you would have listened.
Yeah, but Fee was doing it in her jibber jabber.
All I hear are excuses. That's all I hear from you guys.
For bad program design, yes.
For people who are bad at games.
I'll actually stick up for Cap. I thought the Silent Realms were like one of the fun parts of the game. Like I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, I wasn't big on the Silent Realms, and I'm a defender of this game. Like it's just not for me. Like I haven't chipped in a little bit here, but like the art style that you guys were talking about, like with this game and everything like that, I actually loved a little bit of this, just because everything, like, I don't know, back in 2011 when this game came out, everything was kind of like dark and muddy, kind of gross, including Twilight Princess. Even Ocarina of Time had a very like muddy sort of like look to it in a lot of places, especially when you're in like the present or the future, right? This just kind of diverts from that and doesn't go as hardcore, obviously, as Wind Waker into being an anime, but goes straight into like this very colorful, very bright thing that I didn't see in a lot of games at that time. Because you have to think like same time frame as this, we were getting like Fallout 3 expansion packs and what was it, BioShock 2. Everything was just really
Call of Duty,
Gears of War, Call of Duties. Everything was dark. Everything was muddy. Lots of browns. So this being as colorful as it was just kind of like a breath of fresh air, whole 9 yards. So I have a severe attachment to that for this. It also kind of brings me back to the 2D games because they were extremely colorful. If I go back to like Minish Cap or if I go back to, A Link to the Past, those games are extremely colorful. There's a lot of color going on. And so that this is, much closer in the realm of that versus going into that muddy, what was popular at the time. I appreciated it. Motion controls, yeah, I can understand your all's frustration with that. It's hard, but there's a design limitation. Obviously, when you're dealing with the Wii, you have to be able to design your game to fully function around that, and the creativity isn't going to be there. I feel like I said when I first started, this game ranks a little bit lower than me than I did when coming into it, just because other games have come out since then that have been able to do essentially the same kind of motion control or even the same sort of style of things, but better. Like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, especially Tears of the Kingdom being up in the sky, being able to drop down below. Everything just feels a lot more fluid. Everything feels a lot better. Everything has more creativity to it. So this was a building block, I feel, more so than anything, but something that they were stuck, something where they were just stuck on the design of the Wii and how they had to do that You can't fix that on the Switch. It's a Wii game at the end of the day. Like you have to deal with what the limitations of a Motion Plus. Like that's where you're stuck.
You're right, Stump, and that was part of the draw for Breath of the Wild, right? Which is you see it, you can go there. That was not the mark of this game, which came out, what was it, 6 years? Well, probably not 6, 7 years probably before Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, about 6 years. And none of the Zelda games that were 3D really had truly open worlds. They were all blockaded. You all had like these, in Twilight Princess, you had these areas you couldn't get past until you defeated something. Then that gate would open. You can finally go into that area. Same sort of thing with Ocarina of Time. You had to do some sort of little mini thing to be able to get into any of the little sections of the map, right? You never had a fully explorable map like you did in the original NES Zelda game until Breath of the Wild again. Like there was this whole entire period of time where that openness just didn't exist. And this is probably the worst example of that because it's so closed off. Like, I loved being in the sky. I loved being able to travel in the sky. Like, I would just mess around in there just for fun. But it didn't really serve a purpose aside to just waste time in between you going from one place to another. And as much as I loved it, like flying on the bird, amazing. Aside, the controls not being naturally inverted. But flying on the bird is fantastic. It's a lot more appealing to me than Wind Waker, just going through the waves. Just because there's just a lot more freedom of movement. Like I could just really mess around in there. But there's nothing really worth exploring except for a few key pieces. Everything else is just a rupee chest, and I could care less. I could just grind out some mobs going, from and to different areas over and over again to get rupees. That's not really a playing point for me. So I can understand your guys' frustration with that, 100%, with the Sky just not having a whole lot to do. But I will touch on, what did you guys think of Skyloft itself? Because that's your only main village. Obviously, it's like your Kakariko village of this game. But I wanted to say, the character designs were all extremely unique, extremely fun. Like, everybody had, this weird sort of story to tell you. Like, every single character you interacted with was different. And I felt like they spent a lot of time doing that just because they really knew that they only had this one area for you to interact with other creatures in, aside the random Goron or two.
I liked Skyloft. I think you bring up a good point that they're all very unique up there. I know, Ryan, you brought up earlier it's a dead world. Well, that's kind of part of the story. I mean, Skyloft became a thing because when Demise attacked originally, the goddess sent Skyloft into the sky. That land piece into the sky. So there weren't that many people on there, and that's why there's also not anybody on the ground, right? I mean, that's all that's left, and they've had to kind of continue on and kind of forget what happened, which is why there's not a ton of people there. You got to remember, Skyloft itself is not huge, so that's why there's not going to be a ton of people on there. There's only so much room for actual residences, but then obviously you got where you can buy stuff, and you got the kind of like that plaza and stuff. But I liked Skyloft. You guys brought up the whole not being able to just jump off anywhere. I agree with that. I don't think you needed the specific spots you had to jump off to get onto your loft wing. But at the same time, I think they were numerous enough that wherever you were in Skyloft, it wasn't going to take you that long to find one. So, but yeah, in the end, I enjoyed Skyloft.
For quality of life, though, they probably could have added the feature you can jump off anywhere to get on a bird.
And expand your stamina bar if you're in Skyloft.
Okay, so stamina bars just always suck. Let's be honest.
Yes. Yeah.
And this game introduced it.
Yes, I will. Yep, that is definitely a negative. But unfortunately, Zelda keeps doing it now. It's like, no, get rid of the stamina.
No, I don't mind it in the new games. Like, stamina is great in the new games.
It's true. You can level it up so it gets bigger. But I don't like Skyloft. Just for what I said before, I know it's part of the story, but still, you get 15 people, and how long has he been sealed for? Hundreds of years? Or because he even says, he goes, it's been so long, or what's called Demise says that. So literally, there's been nobody for hundreds of years, and you only have 15 people living in the sky. That's it.
like I said, you only have so much space. It's not like you can keep expanding outward, right?
Yeah.
You have this chunk of land, and that's it.
And I know the part of the story is at the very end too, where like Zelda's like, I don't think I want to live in the sky anymore, and I'm like, I don't blame you.
See, it's all population control. This is why Link was an orphan. His parents just got shoved over the edge.
Yeah, you're talking about. There's only so much space. Yeah, they just kick someone right off. But yeah, I don't know. Listen, what do you think about Skyloft?
I guess I kind of liked it. It was kind of cute, and I guess maybe because it's just the main area where you go back to. I was like, this is okay. You talk to the different people. I'm okay with it. I liked it. I like the music.
Really anything there to do though. Like I didn't find anything. Like
you can go get pumpkin soup if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't go back through and do all of the stuff for the pumpkin guy.
Oh yeah.
But like I went to Skyloft because I had to go to Skyloft so that I could leave Skyloft. That was, mostly okay. I got to go back to the hub. So okay, well let me go buy the next upgrade for the rupee pouch because I don't want to open up a chest and go, oh, I maxed out my rupees. That's so sad. Especially when you open up, what was it, $100 or $500 one?
Yeah.
Or 500 rupee one. And it's just like, oh, well, that was just wasted. Like, oh, you know what? I bet it has an autosave. Close the game, kick it back up. All right, I'll go get that chest later. I don't think I ever did.
I feel like that's a constant issue with every Zelda game.
Yeah.
Because all of your hub worlds or hub cities or hub towns always just kind of feel like a place you have to stop to go get a quest marker or to like progress something. They never feel like truly like a place that you could like live and expand in until you're building your house and Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Obviously, those are fun for about 20 minutes and then you forget you even have a house. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I even stopped in my room ever once after leaving it. Like I was maybe just to sleep because there's that one mission for the guy who needs to do push-ups. We have to provide him Fledge, where you need to provide him his stamina juice so he can do push-ups throughout the night in order to get.
Where you could hear him working out.
Yeah, I just slept in his room. That way you didn't have to go in and out of doors.
Mm-hmm. I'll give that Batrice, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's actually a really creative character. Very disappointing how he looks after completing all 80, I think 80
gratitude crystals.
Thank you, gratitude crystals.
I don't think I got one of those.
Oh,
you have to have gotten at least one.
Did you guys do any side missions?
I tried to avoid this. I did some of I started doing the ones for the pumpkin guy after I broke the chandelier.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, like I had to go back to Skyloft and it wasn't the right time or whatever. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not coming back over here unless I have to. And then Batros was the evil guy that they thought kidnapped the girl, right?
The demon, the reported demon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe I got one, but I might could fire it up really quick and look and see. But I didn't go looking for any of that.
I actually enjoyed the side missions. I did them all. Like I enjoyed that part.
I did all the side missions for the potions, even if they were a little bit wonky. Like, yeah, I need this piece of material. It's like the Forged Heart of Darkness. We've never seen it before, but I know I need it. Okay, sure.
I read it in this book.
Why not?
I never used the fortune teller at all. I thought with Batrice, I thought it was right because I even like that story. Like you said, like they thought like the little kid was kidnapped, and then after you go visit her, she's like, no, it's just Uncle Bats. That's what she calls him. Yet she's hanging out with this demon in the sky, underground. So not many people live there, but they all know there's this bridge that leads to the underneath part. So
yeah, and don't go there.
What about, did anyone do any of the did anyone romance Petrice?
I did.
Yeah.
I always do.
I think that's the only way you can
I
get
feel
one of
too
the
bad.
bottles.
I don't want to break her heart.
I know. I felt bad too. I was like, oh, like
just leading her on,
yeah.
just for a bottle. I think it's a bottle or a piece of heart. It might be a piece of heart actually, because she gives you like love or something like that. It's probably a piece of heart.
Yep. Now, most of you guys, I feel, didn't like Groose.
Ugh.
No.
Correct.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I don't care about him too much. I don't hate him as much as some people do, but I don't love him either.
See, I just love him because he was just like this freaking goofball. Like he's just acting like any teenager would who's jealous of somebody else, right? And then he just grows over time. Like, he's the only one who's super sad that Impa's dying at the end of it, because he's like, oh, I've been spending like hours with this lady. She's cool. She's my new best friend. Why are we? I'm gonna protect her from everything. Like, he pushes her out of the way so she doesn't get attacked by Girahim. Like, he ends up like.
Meanwhile, he's got Sith yellow eyes, and she becomes one with the Force at the very end of the game.
But hey, he cries about it.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, like, it's weird because, like, she just, like, well, she becomes, like, one with the Force, and that's it, basically, right? Where you find out that was Impa. And, spoilers, Melissa, I'm sorry.
If it
No,
wasn't
it's
obvious,
okay.
All the
that's
clues
Impa.
already were,
It's
you know.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, well, she doesn't, like, get stabbed or anything. She just is like, I'm old, goodbye. And then...
I mean, Bruce actually had some character development. He was a jerk at the start, and then he slowly had this curve. It was like, okay, I'm kind of warming up to this guy, and then it's like, all right, well, he's not so bad. You know, Link shouldn't kill him or anything.
And he's got the Grusinator, right?
That's right. I mean, come on, he got the cannons to throw the balls at the catapult to throw at the
prison.
Yeah. So are the pink things? Were those the evil ones?
Yeah.
No, yeah, those are evil crystals. But no,
Yeah.
those aren't gratitude crystals. Gratitude crystals are like orange.
Yep.
They kind of look like a spiky ball.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now, what did you guys feel about the music in this game? Like, because Bruce always makes me think of, like, his theme is fantastic. It's really well written. It's, you know, again, it's got that whimsical sort of, like, everything's in, like, sharp or flat notes. And it just kind of sounds off because it's Bruce. But there's a lot of really, really good tracks in this game that I feel like have stood the test of, like, time for, like, if I go to, like, a Zelda symphony, which I went to the one right after this game released, actually. It was a big focus of obviously that symphony was this particular game. And a lot of the tracks do stand out.
What's one of your tracks that you care for?
Well, I mean, I really actually like.
You don't know the name. Remember, like, where it was at, or
yeah, the Farron Woods.
Okay.
Like, obviously, that one was fantastic. Any of the Girahim fights, like, had amazing music going on in the background as well.
I will knock the music in this game because, of course, I will.
Do you like anything about this game? Like, is there anything?
Did you at least like the Ballad of the Goddess?
He likes that it ends.
Yeah. Now, I'll say the one track. Previously, if you would ask me, I would have told you there isn't a track that stands out to me. I will change my tune now to the I think Flying Around track. I think it's all right. And that's one I like when you come back to the sky. That's one I would not say that's probably my favorite track to the game because I didn't hate it. I didn't mind it while I was flying around. But there's parts in the game to criticize it. I think to fairly criticize it. I think there's misses with some of the music. In particular, I think I want to say I think it's one of the temples, maybe the second temple where you have to change the time. There's one temple where, or maybe it's even two in the desert, where there's these time orbs where the world like is like dead, but if you slash it or if there's a ball and you can drag it along, it brings the world from like thousands of years ago, brings it back to life. There's a track in that one. I want to say I believe it's that world where it starts off but never goes anywhere. It starts off with just like I want to say maybe like a xylophone or something like that. Just like a and it doesn't like ever you expect something else to come in and it doesn't. And I'm like it's like a disappointing thing because it seems like it's a great opener to build to something and nothing comes out of it. So if I was like I said when it comes to like criticism, it stands out but not in a positive way for me.
I like the music, but at the same time, I don't find it completely memorable. Like, if I'm just sitting there thinking about Zelda, songs from Ocarina will come to mind, Twilight Princess will come to mind, the original Zelda will come to mind, but I never have songs from this come to mind, even though it's my most played Zelda. So while I do like the music, I don't think it's that memorable.
I don't remember any of it. Just because, I mean, with the Zelda games, I think, and others like it. Like I'm trying to like quickly get the story and get through the game quite often because it takes so long. Like I think I had 31 hours, 32 hours into it for the playthrough. And I mean, I'm sure some of that was, setting down the Switch or leaving it in the dock and just walking off and doing something else for a little bit. But I don't remember any of the music. But there's also, when I'm streaming it, I usually can't hear the music or the audio for the games all that well. So that might play a part in it. But
Overall, I like the music. I would say that this is probably up there with my favorite Zelda soundtracks. Like, to me, it really did stood out in a positive way. Like, all the areas just sounded unique. And, like, when I hear a certain song, I'm like, oh, this is from Fair Woods. And, yeah, it all just stood out to me. And I thought it was really good.
Yeah, the orchestration is amazing.
Yeah, I liked it.
Captain, I think to your point, why it's not so much more memorable is I think with some of those, and you don't do this originally with the original games, but from Ocarina forward, a lot of probably up until this one, you usually had to play like a music track, and you're gonna play it repeatedly, repetitively, so that song will get burned in your head, and it becomes memorable that way. That's the way I was kind of associated, because this one, you do have a little bit of a harp strum. I can't remember how in the Wii version is there. Do you have to do motion controls back and forth for the Wii version?
Yeah, you swing it back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I just remember you basically flick the analog stick back and forth on the Switch version remake. But yeah, you're not really playing; you're just going back and forth. So it kind of, and then you got like Fee humming a weird tune every time too, as she sings aloud with her.
Having to do the strumming, I found kind of just irritating.
that's probably the worst part of the music because you have to hear feet speak.
Mm-hmm. And then you see your mouth just like openly scream. But with the strumming part too, it's like you have to do it on the beat that flows back and forth as well. Now it's not critical. It's pretty forgiving, but like you can't just go like speed your way through it. Like as if you're playing like Ocarina of Time again, you can put in the inputs as fast as possible and it'll get all the way through, right? This one you have to do on time, and it's more along the line for when you do the next path to be unveiled or to unlock the Shadow World. You have to do that kind of idea.
Yeah, the first time I had to do it, I was like, I'm sitting here doing it. I don't understand why it's not taking it. What's wrong? And eventually I did it long enough. It's like, okay, yay, it's done. Like, what do you mean I got to do it again? What do you mean I got to do it again? What? There's more? Wait. I found it more annoying than anything else.
Wazram, do you like rhythm games?
No.
Okay. That makes sense. Because I mean, all you gotta do is you gotta watch the thing go in and out, right? And you just match your swipes to that. Like, I don't know. I find that part kind of calming. Like you're just slow and melodic. I don't know. It's kind of relaxing at that point.
And
Ryan, you brought up Ocarina. I am the one who, when I played Ocarina of Time, I press the buttons to the tune of the song. Like, I don't press them as fast as I can. Like, I will actually play the songs with the buttons.
With the time? So you're lining up with the time? Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I did that on the 64, but not on the 3DS version, just because the controls are kind of not as great.
I usually just do as fast as I can, and then I listen to the music as it plays after I do it. So, I will say this for like some side characters. I think I really did like. Let me pull up his name again here. What the hell was his name? That little robot that was like in love with Fee, that would assist you. I'm trying to remember his name. Where it is? It's on my sheet here.
It's got numbers and letters in it.
Except for when he was really annoying when you had to do the escort quests.
Ugh.
Because there was times where he would get lost. And I was like, I wasn't running. I was just walking. How did you get stuck on that? You have to run back and then run behind him so he'll get off of it and then come back around and come back. and so he'd not hit. There was like a couple of times, and there was an edge he would get stuck on, and like I would have to backtrack to get him to pull off of it, and then walk like get on the far side of something so he wouldn't run back into it.
I actually I read something where if you went up the air shaft, like to go up on the mountain, you'd leave him behind, and then you could like clear out that whole area, and then go back down and walk him up. And that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So that I didn't have to like worry about him getting hit as much. But he didn't like that.
I feel like when I was playing this, I had less of an issue with that on the Wii version than I did on the Switch one, because I was able to traverse the environments much quicker on the Switch one, so I ended up leaving him behind. Whereas you have to have all this intentional movement on the Wii, so you had plenty of time to catch up to where you were. So I don't know. I just never really had an issue with him on the Wii one, but just on the Switch one.
Yeah, I can't remember ever having an issue with him getting stuck on anything.
Yeah, well, it's only really one escort mission that you have to do it with him, and it's up that one hill, right? But
and honestly, that escort mission, I know Owaz, you usually complained about it when you got to that in the Discord. Honestly, most of the enemies you can just shoot with your arrows from far away, and they aren't really an issue at all. So I wouldn't. There are much worse escort missions in the history of video games that are difficult. Yes. This one's pretty easy.
Yeah, and it was, it's like, I missed one, and I couldn't turn around and find out which one I didn't shoot. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, let me look when I get to that point. Oh, okay, he's right there. Well, dang it, that's annoying. Just because you got through the whole thing all over. Just like, man.
That is kind of a part that's funny, though, when he's kind of interested in Fee. And I like the dialogue between the two. It's pretty funny.
I like how he calls you Master Short Pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I have no use for you. I'm only doing this because of Fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's always like yelling at him, get out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Like, for items in this game, did anyone have a particular favorite item that they use? And on top of that, like... Cap, I know you 100% in this game for the first time, but if you play this game, because you say you played it multiple times, do you play it a certain particular way? Like, well, I know I really like the arrows, so I'm going to upgrade the quiver right away because I just use the arrows a lot. Do you have a particular way of playing this game on top of that?
It just kind of depends how I'm feeling with that playthrough. And when I say I hadn't 100% before, honestly, the only thing I hadn't got before was the Hylian Shield. Just because I just didn't feel like doing a boss rush, just because I feel like boss rush modes or in games just detract from a game. I don't think they add anything. So I was kind of annoyed that that's the only way to get the Hylian Shield. But this time I was like, I've played it a lot. I should probably get the Hylian Shield at least once. And honestly, it wasn't that bad. I mean, we talked about the difficulty earlier. The game's not that difficult. None of the bosses are that difficult. But as for items, I mean, yeah, I do really like the bow and arrow. So as soon as I get a chance to, I try to upgrade those as fast as I can. I feel like the beetle is really cool just because it's super useful. I will say that it's part of the motion controls I don't love. I don't think flying the beetle is that great because it's kind of slow and sluggish, even when you upgrade it higher. But it is cool how it can grab bombs and you can drop them on people. You can cut down Skulltulas, or you can cut down
you cut the plants.
Yes, the plants. I can't remember the Dekubabas. So that's cool. It's got some use. Then I hate the bug net because like I have collected all the bugs before, and I don't know. I hate the bug net. It just doesn't work that well in my opinion. The slingshot is not really used that much except for early on because it's the first item you get. I will say I absolutely love the whip. I think that's a fun one. Maybe part of it is just because the battle with Galactus. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind most of the items, but I wouldn't say there's any really set way I play it.
Before we go on, I want to point out to Melissa, because you're right there for doing it. If you're going for the piece of heart, quit after part 4, after the 4th boss fight. If you're going for the shield, because you won't get both. If you go all the way to get 8. You don't get all the coins. It's just you get the prize on when you quit.
Oh, so I have to do it twice and beat like 12 bosses in a row?
Yeah.
I learned from my mistake on this playthrough here where I completely forgot about that. Because the first time through, I should have stopped right at 4. And I choose like the middle option. It says where it says like I think he gives you kind of like a, do you want to do a harder or whatever? I always just do the
He
start and
gives
middle
you
option.
like he lets you, yeah, and then he lets you like choose like where you want the bosses from.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, oh yeah, I'll do this one. Like I think when I did it, I think I started early. Like I tried it last night. I started early, and then I got oh, what's his name? You know, the one that can tell which way the Garahim. I
Mhm.
got him as my second boss, and I'm not good against him, so I failed. And then I was like,
I will say I like to start off with one of those bosses that doesn't have the hearts. Like the Girahim one has hearts. That lava ball guy, he has hearts at the top. I try to save those for because you can't even. I don't think you can use items in that
you
world.
can't,
No, you
no.
can't.
But you can. I did read that you can go, like, go get the potions, like, go get the invincible potion and stuff, and use that so that, like, because when you talk to the dragon, that doesn't count. It's only like when you start in your battle. So then you could be 6 minutes. If you have the medal, you can be 6 minutes for all those battles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so keep that in mind. Basically, if you want the piece of heart and you want the shield, I think the final piece is like a full wallet. Like if you have the max upgraded wallet, it'll just basically fill it all the way up with rupees. I didn't do it because I'm like, well, what's the point? I'm just here for the shield and the heart. So
yeah.
Keep that in mind. After Act 4 is something that is the heart and
okay. Yeah. I'll see. I'll see if I do that. I don't know. But I want to piggyback on Captain's the items. I did not really enjoy the gust bellows. I don't know if it was just with the motion controls or stuff. It felt like it was heavy for him and hard to maneuver. Like whenever I used it, like I would clean Pipit's house all the time and stuff. It just wasn't one of my favorite things. But I did like I like the claw shots, and the whip was fun. And I do like the beetle as well. I thought the beetle was very useful for different things.
I will say I like the beetle a lot as well, but I didn't have the problem flying it on the Switch version. I think it actually worked really, really well on the Switch version.
Mm-hmm.
The little speed up button, and I don't know, like I think it worked pretty good. So if I were gonna say that one, I think that would probably be my favorite item. I mean, I upgraded that bow and arrow right away as much as I can. I didn't really go after a full bomb bag either. I had the items to do it. It's just I think there's only a couple times I really need it, and anytime you really needed to use bombs, they're always available. Or same thing with arrows too. But if you needed to fire an arrow, there's usually you can break a barrel and there'll be arrows. But yeah, I think the beetle's the one that probably stands out to me that I really enjoyed. It also probably comes to the quality of life of upgrading it with the in Regency bias playing it on the Switch version. So
the beetle one was useful. You got to use it like a lot of times because it was so useful with different things. But like the claw shot, I was like, oh, it's a hook shot. And with the gust bellows, I was like, oh, it's like the leaf thing from Wind Waker. And then the whip was interesting, and it worked pretty well in the Switch version. So as long as you had lock on, you flicked it up and you were going to grab it, or you flicked it down, or whichever way you needed to, it was going to do what it needed to do. But I mean, the beetle thing was, I think, the coolest item. It's sad to see that, or to hear that when you upgrade it, it doesn't get any faster, much faster. Because like I got the upgrade you have to get for the hook, but after that, I didn't get the quick beetle or the tough beetle, and like I was like, this thing needs a way to boost it because it was like just really slow.
Like, yeah, no, the quick beetle moves faster. You can boost it and stuff. I just, like I said, I still don't think it moves that particularly fast. Or, and again, I think it's just in general sluggish to handle.
Yes. I was like, it needs to be like the Batarang from the Batman games, where it's like you can speed it up, you can slow it down. Just instead of this, like, okay, let me grab a bomb and let me go over here. The top-down view was nice when you're dropping it on baddies or into the baskets or to open up stuff. But yeah, I think the beetle was the coolest item.
Yeah, I think the slowness all comes down from the Wii design as well, because you have to think about your target audience and how they are adapting the motion controls in a fully motion controlled Zelda. So you have to slow it down a bit to give them time to correct errors with flying the dang thing. I didn't nearly have an issue with it on either. The Switch one was obviously a lot easier because the gyroscopic controls on the Switch are way better. But yeah, no, it was fun. I like the Beetle a lot, and I use the arrows for pretty much everything, just because so many of the enemies just have ways of just being annoying and deflecting your sword, especially later on where you have like the goblins with like the electric like sort of things. Like it just seems like, oh, it's over here. I'm going to swing here. Like gotcha, and it's just like you just get stopped for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So I would just like, if I could avoid doing it and I could just stand further away and just shoot them with an arrow, I did.
Almost any electric filament in this game is annoying. You know what? I'll mention this. One temple actually, I don't know if I like the temple, but I actually did kind of like the boss fight, even though you have a repeat boss fight. But I really did like the Captain Plank fight in the game. Just, I don't know, maybe just the whole idea of that pirate ship on the sea kind of thing, the whole layout of it. And I know he's got like, does he have that, or is it the second wave where he's got the electric sword?
I think it's the second wave.
Yeah. But to me, I think that's creative, and I think that's when I knock this game a lot. I feel like a lot of it is just basically, to me, it's mostly just focused so much on motion control. And I know people who, I think Stump will say that I think he thinks the motion controls is pretty damn good in this game. I don't like motion control, so maybe that's why I didn't really like it the first time through. But I don't know. It's the creativity was, like I said, what the hell's the name of that? What's the name of the ancient boss again? I'm sorry.
Coloctus,
yes. And Cab, you mentioned like the using of the whip in it, where like that's one of the most, and I mentioned before, I think that's one of the most creative boss fights in any Zelda game. So there are moments of like greatness in this game, but I don't know. Like the whip is great addition for that reason alone, but I think I only really used that and to whip a couple levers over a couple of times too. So it would have been great to maybe, the one thing too I can think of is there's always like some weird quirk way of like using like a weapon in any previous Zelda game. Like you can use a bottle to deflect, I believe, Ganon's like fire attack in some games, where it would have been creative to use maybe the bug net in some other way besides just collecting the beetles and whatnot.
Well, you collected birds too, right? Bird feathers.
That's true. You can get bird feathers that way as well. The rare blue feather.
Neat.
Yeah.
I think motion controls are interesting just because I don't know if any game will ever convince someone who doesn't like motion controls to like motion controls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any middle ground on motion controls. Either you don't mind them or you hate them. That's kind of the thought I get on it, just because I've never had anybody I know say, "Oh, motion controls are fine." It's either you like them or you don't like them. In fact, I've got some friends who refuse to ever play like their Switch with their Joy-Cons in their hands. They need to attach it to like that controller that came with the Switch, or use a Pro controller, because I don't know, to them, like they have to have it in front of them like a normal controller. Whereas like when I used to play Super Mario Odyssey, I would like sit back with my arms on the back of the couch and just kind of relax, which I think is a cool way to be able to play a video game instead of having them have to be in front of you. But yeah, I've always didn't mind motion controls. I knew that they would be not the greatest, and they're going to take getting used to, just because of the design. And it's hard to be exactly perfect with how you swing your arm and versus how the game tracks it. But I do think Skyward Sword has some of the better motion controls that I've played.
Yeah, in terms of a game like this, like they weren't going to release a Zelda game on a system where you had to buy an additional Wii Pro Classic Controller Pro or whatever it is to be able to play it. It just wasn't going to happen. So they had to design around what was included with the console, even though they were obviously upgrading to Wii Motion Plus at that time. But they had already had other games come out like Wii Sports Resort that kind of, got people through the door on like how that works out. And I feel like this game has like that best case scenario of how you can use the motion controls that were available on the Wii at that time, right? Like, sure, did Sony eventually do better with the Move controllers? Yeah, I guess, in terms of like direct one-to-one and everything like that, but who even used Move controllers at all? Who even remembers them? Like, I have a pair to use with my original VR headset to play Rez with, and that's about it. Right?
They're wonderful for light gun games.
I have to try that out. I haven't done a whole ton of light gun games with my Move controllers. They're sitting in a drawer somewhere. But like, if I go back to again when this was made, yeah, the motion controls were exactly what they should have been. Like, there's no real way to really design this game any better around what the motion controls had available at that time, without requiring every single person who bought this game to buy an entirely different controller to play it. Now, the Switch one is obviously a little bit better because we have a little more options for that. I feel like it almost went with like the Splatoon route, where you have like your physical controls, but if you decide to move your Switch, you can use those gyroscopic controls as well for like the things that use that, like your arrows, like your beetle. You know, you can really like narrow down exactly where you're aiming at. So it just gives you that extra bit of precision while you still have your hands on the natural controls that you already like. I think that blended environment is kind of like the best way to go about it and the best control scheme for this game. But that just wasn't available back in 2011, so I'm not going to dog it for that. How did you guys feel about the story between Link and Zelda? Because I feel like, as this game obviously came out before Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where that gets a little more time to marinate, I feel like this was the first game that we had where they actually have a real relationship. Like, not romantic in a sense, like there is definitely something like that there, but they actually have like an entire like history together. They grew up together. They know each other. They got each other's backs. It's the main reason that Bruce doesn't like you in the beginning, is because you have this closeness. For me, that was like one of the main driving forces of this game, was like, yeah, I don't really care if I have to keep dousing Rod and find Zelda and then she's somewhere else. I want to see more of what that story is between the two of these two, because this is the first time where it's actually fleshed out. You're not just some kid showing up at a castle. Oh, there's a princess. Okay. Which is kind of what had happened in previous Zeldas before this.
I would say I feel like they have more of a... even though I would, if you would have told me the first time, I would have told you I thought they had a romantic relationship. But I think after replaying it this time, I don't... maybe, but it's never really in depth, you know, because they have a relationship in previous games where they're friends and whatnot. But clearly, like, Link has another romantic relationship or some other path. But yeah, you're right. This one's probably one of the ones where they mostly have a closer bond to it, and that's. Would you consider that part more of the story? Because I know you said you really like the story to this game too.
I feel like that was Link's driving catalyst throughout the story. Was, you know, obviously to reclaim his friend. I feel like based off of what we saw story-wise, Zelda definitely thought of their relationship as more than what Link thought of it as. Just based off of, like, you know, he's a blank slate, and so he doesn't really have reactions. Yeah, she definitely seemed to want to keep him around and keep him close, to the dismay of Bruce. And
her father really doesn't, like, I think if you ever go back to him once, he's like, oh, how's my daughter doing, or something like that. And I think you just basically give, like, the answer where it's like ... you know, as a response. Story-wise, you think we're talking more about the relationship or the story in particular? What do you think of this? You know,
I feel like they're both essentially intertwined. Like, the entire crux of the story is based off of Link wants to save Zelda because it's his friend. Like, if she hadn't have fallen and gone through that, there would be no story. He wouldn't have given a shit. Like, oh, there's something going on down there.
Yeah, I think their friendship and being so closely bonded from the beginning compared to other Zelda games, I think does really help out the story and is part of why it is my favorite Zelda story.
Well, I think there's, like, they have that closeness, but there's also something else that keeps them, you know, coming back.
The Triforce.
Yeah. Like this is their destiny. Like, they don't really have much of a choice in it.
It's
but
fate.
They're drawn together because that's what's supposed to happen.
Well,
because she is the goddess and he is the protector. that's it. And that's why throughout all of the games, what is it? She's the one that, except for the new one that came out on the Switch, he is there to make sure that she can fulfill her destiny. And so he goes through his trials to make sure that she's able to do that. But then she's also looking out for him, and they might not even understand why. At least that's what I got from it, was that they are bound forever through that connection.
Well, them and Demise apparently too.
Yes. And it's an eternal ongoing battle. It's like, all right, he comes up. All right, well, now we need the hero and we need the princess, because then she can bestow her favor or whatever you want to call it on Link, so he can do what he needs to do to take care of Demise or Ganondorf.
And that's, I think I take away more from the story now that I think about it, is like the whole Demise thing, because he kind of what says, like, I will haunt your generations from whatever going forward. But like, it's more along the line of, like, I don't want to say Izzy. I know he's kind of like the soul of Ganondorf, right? But to me, it seems like Ganondorf is even though they kind of look the same with the hair and whatnot, but to me, it seems like Ganondorf is like another level of like evil, right? At least from my perspective, that maybe he does have the spirit of the Demon King and everything, but I can't believe that's never been like touched on quite again. There's elements from this game that pertain into more Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but they've never ever kind of like touched back on it. Like, you can't put that back in, like, unless you remake Ocarina of Time or something. Like, you can't go and put all these hints of why he's like that. But just that, I think I can't remember if he says he just curses you or something like that, that he'll forever haunt your bloodline.
Yeah, no, it was like he was saying that he would forever be haunting them for all eternity, essentially. I felt like that was, again, like I said in the beginning, that Demise I felt was pretty weak. Like, I didn't really like him as, like, just this final antagonist. It just didn't really do a whole lot for me. I expected more from Girahim, especially after, last generation before this, we had Four Swords Adventures that he was in. And I was expecting a lot more from that, but it just didn't end up going that way. Honestly, thought it would have been a lot more funny if Groose had merged with Demise and just, like, hated them because he never got Zelda. I don't know.
That would have made things far more interesting with this character.
It would explain the yellow eyes, Ganondorf got them yellow eyes. Come on, let's get it going.
So I did look up what he says. Demise says that descendants of Link and Princess Zelda will be forced to confront the embodiment of his hatred for eternity. So that's what Ganondorf is. It's the embodiment of his hatred.
The thing is, he just keeps coming back, and for some reason, Demise doesn't.
I guess we just need a sequel to this game. We'll get Groose and Dorf. We'll be fine.
Oh, God.
I saw a video like about this game and how it kind of messes with the timeline. I know Ocarina of Time forks like the timeline, but in this one, like, you go back, Zelda goes back in time, right, after she makes her wish. So, like, the way he explained it is that you have the timeline to where she doesn't get the wish, but then the timeline where they do, and it goes pretty in depth with those two storylines, and I kind of quite like that path. It's all headcanon for sure, because they've already established their own timeline, but
let's be honest, every game in the series messes with the timeline.
Yeah. Tears of the Kingdom, you have this ancient Hyruleans that you don't see anywhere else in the entire series. Yeah, of course. Yeah, everything got messed up.
It's all a multiverse, and none of them are actually connected to one another. It's just hearsay.
I know Eric, has to play them in order, and I'm like, you don't have to play them in order. I've played these three. It's fine. You can do whatever.
Who are you?
Just play release order. That's all you do. Just play release order. I know we Wazern brought up like early on about like the difficulty of this game. Like, even Demise isn't that difficult. I will say though, I do love the fight with Demise just because of the lightning flashing in the background. You kind of have that like little pool of water that you're in, so it kind of has reflection really well. And I just think Demise looks very badass. I think with his hair flowing, like that fiery hair, and he's got like that black and white aesthetic, compared to I mean, sometimes Ganondorf just looks goofy. I hate on Wind Waker all the time. He looks extremely goofy in Wind Waker. Ocarina, he looks goofy, but obviously that's just with the times and the polygons, right? I mean, you're going to look kind of weird there. So I do really appreciate the look of Demise.
Demise looks like he comes straight out of God of War.
Yeah, he looks like a product of the time where he's just cool for the sake of being cool, not actually earned coolness. Because, like, I don't know. It just kind of feels like, oh, this is what you look like? I guess.
Yeah, because it's all just story, basically. Because what he is essentially the imprisoned. He's imprisoned as that beast. But he keeps, like, waking up every couple weeks now. And then you have to put that little spike back in his head. I hate his jelly feet. The imprisoned is such a lazy design.
Imprisoned looks stupid.
Yes.
I couldn't believe it. Like when I dropped back in there and I had to fight him a third time. I was like, come on, guys.
Well, don't worry. In the boss rush makes it 4 times.
Oh,
But are you
Actually, it could be
making
5
the
times.
fight
It could be 5
easy
times.
on yourself, or are you fighting it the hard way? Are you destroying its toes?
I destroyed its toes the first time.
Okay.
Like the very first time
Yep.
because you didn't have the electric shock.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, I was using Groose to like stun him and then get on top of him and hit it from there.
Good, just making sure, because
Yeah.
I know the first time I ever played the game, every time I fought him, I would try to take the toes out, and it got extremely frustrating.
Yeah.
And then you realize that you could just jump on his head, and then it makes the boss a lot easier.
Yes. It's kind of like, well, why can you even attack the toes? Because once you get stomping and then you have the ring of damage coming out, electricity or whatever it is, it's just like, how am I supposed to do this? And you're like, oh, wait, these jets are still going. I can go hop over there. Oh, I just hop on his head and smack him around. And then, okay, did it a couple more times. And now he goes back in the ground. And, he's been in there for thousands of years, but now he just pops out 3 times in however many days it runs across. It's like, really?
It's part of the story.
Really?
Just the sake to keep padding more. And then you have to slice in the motion pattern too, which I remember didn't care for so much on the Wii version, but on the Switch version, it's pretty simple to swipe it with the right analog stick in the direction you need to go to.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. You know when you have the 3 butterflies and the things come out, boing, and then other times you could write on the wall. Okay, so when I was writing on the wall, like before I talked to the Goron guy or whatever, it always gave me hearts. Like I tried to like do the other symbols, and it always gave me hearts.
Did you try to draw the Triforce?
I did, and it still gave me like hearts. Like, but then like when you go to talk to him, he stays in the like just outside the temple of Faron Woods, and then like every time you talk to him, he gives you like another clue to draw something else. So then it like changed for me. So I don't know if it was just me, my game, or what.
I think the funny thing about it for the fairies, that one seems like with the Triforce seems like it's the hardest one for the game to read. Because I can pull off rupees really easily, and I can do hearts pretty easily. And
arrows are easy.
And I feel like I could. Like I did the Triforce one twice, but I feel like when I tried it multiple times, I thought I had it or it was close enough where it read it, and then I just got the 3 hearts. So I maybe it's just the limitations that they know it's because fairies aren't as overpowered as they are in other games, Zelda games, where like they would wake you up, wake you back to life, and refill all your hearts. They only wake you back up and give you 6 hearts in this game.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind going into the last battle. That maybe just keep one as a pocket just in case you mess up or you run out of time, but you're better off with the
potions, with the upgraded potion, because if you upgrade the regular health potion, that'll give you your full hearts.
Correct.
Then twice, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you could use it twice, I should say.
I also kept 2 heart medallions on me too to make it a nice 20 as opposed to 18 hearts, just because.
Well, yeah, you can't play the game with 18 hearts. You got to have the full 2 rows. It's just otherwise it looks bad.
It just doesn't look right.
So Ryan, you said this is your second least favorite Zelda game now?
Correct. Yep.
What's your least favorite then?
Zelda 2. Zelda 2.
I knew that was coming.
Zelda 2?
Yep.
Not Spirit Tracks?
Nope. Well, I haven't played Spirit Tracks yet. Maybe in the future here. We still have more Zelda games to cover here.
Next April.
Yeah, we'll see.
Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass. Those are my bottom two.
Well, let's not do Phantom Hourglass, please.
There are Zelda-like games we could always sub for, but we'll see.
Hey, one day we'll do two, Nick. Right?
Yeah.
Crossbow Training 1.
We still
How
haven't
about
done Zelda
Cadence
1
of
either.
Hyrule?
We still haven't done Zelda 1 yet, so.
I'm sure I'll love that one, Cadence of Hyrule.
Yeah, rhythm game just for your Wazzer.
Because what Oracle of Ages and Season when you had to do the Gorham things.
I love Ages and Seasons though. Those
I
games
did
are
not
great.
like that. And then he
I
had
haven't
to do
played
it
those
again.
yet.
And I was like, no.
Pretty sure Wazzer just doesn't like Zelda.
Hyrule Warrior is like one
Yeah,
of
but that's not a real Zelda game.
No, it's not. But it's got
But it
the
is a
spin
great
of-
game. It is a
so
great game.
It counts. I loved Wind Waker. I love Link to the Past. But Hyrule Warrior is just my style now. Like I just
Muso games are fun.
time I
man.
can
Muso
sink
games
in
are fun.
in a play session to actually be able to like I really want to enjoy this story. Whereas with Hyrule Warrior, I can jump into 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I can get through one or two levels with the cutscenes and just run with it. And it's difficult to do that with any Zelda or really openish world action title like Zelda.
Yeah, and I'm actually excited for the new Hyrule Warriors for the Switch too. Looks like it'll be fun.
I still think it's a calamity, but
I got a question for the people that played the Switch version. I've
Yes,
only
sir.
played the Wii version. Is it worth going to the Switch version and checking it out, or am I good with just the Wii version?
If you really like the game, I would say then yeah, get the Switch version.
you want to buy mine?
Yeah, I think the Switch version is worth owning just because it is a very different experience. Like I was saying in the beginning, being able to go ahead and look around 360 degrees is a huge changing aspect that you don't think about because it's just not available on the Wii version. And the 60 frames does like help improve the pace of like combat because it just doesn't feel as sluggish. So for me, just the two basic advantages are enough for me to say, yeah, this version is the one I would go back to now. I wouldn't even crack out my Wii version again at this point.
I'd like to reiterate May's game of the month will be Star Wars Jedi Survivor. If you've played along or just want to discuss the game with us, make sure to let us know by using the hashtag Cartridge Club on whatever social media platform you frequent. For those of you who want to get a head start on June's game of the month, we'll be playing Diddy Kong Racing. For the month of July, the Cartridge Club will be playing Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, please reach out to us. We're always looking forward to having new community members on to talk about the games they love. To those of you interested in supporting the club beyond a review on the podcast app of your choice, I'd like to mention that the club is entirely funded by pledges made from members of our community. We are extremely grateful to those supporters, and if you're interested in becoming one of them, please look at how you can do so at patreon.com/Cartridge Club. Well, that's the show, everyone. Before we like to go, I'd like to say a thank you to all the guests who helped us out on the show tonight. So, Stump, where can we find you online?
On Discord, StumptownRetro. And I'm not really any other places these days. I think you can also find me out on Blue Sky as well, but I'm not super active over there.
Thanks for being here. JChip, where can we find you online?
You can find me on YouTube at JChipShow. You can find me on Twitter at JChipShow. I do have an Instagram, but not really active on there. I am pretty active on the Discord, though.
Thanks for being here. Owaz, where can we find you online?
I'm on YouTube and Twitter and Twitch, all under Owaz.
Thanks for being here. Mrs. Qdawg, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Mrs. Qdawg. It's DAWG. And the YouTube channel that I do with Eric is Mighty Qdawg, DAWG. I do have Blue Sky, but I don't go on it a lot. And I'm in the Discord.
Thanks for being here. Cap?
You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky, all Captain Algebra.
As for myself, you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, the Discord, Instagram, generally all with the same handle of ItsRocketSauce. But with that being said, that's the show, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. See you tonight.